Haegue Yang was born in 1971 in Seoul, Korea, and divides her time between Seoul and the German city of Berlin. For the Haus der Kunst Central Hall, Haegue Yang has conceived of this space-filling installation entitled Accommodating the Epic Dispersion or Non-Cathartic Volume of Dispersion. Yang consciously chose this lengthy title in response to the large scale of the middle hall, all of 800 square meters, and fills the space with complex, multi-layered blind structures. These stand for the epic dimensions of the narratives lived by figures of diaspora. The enormity and complexity of this subject is fused in both the physical appearance and the metaphorical levels of Yang's work. Towering structures as an accumulation of narratives, unattainability as the remoteness of history, transparency as a model for self-examination, and translucent overlapping as the compatibility of diverse destinies. The entire conglomerate superimposes itself onto the monumental space of the middle hall.
Rise and Fall of Apartheid is an exhibition focused as much on the development of the political ideology of apartheid in South Africa after 1948, as much it is about the history of photography in South Africa from that period onwards. And what the exhibition really engages is an attempt to tell the story of the intersection of activism on the one side and the images that visualize that activism in a way that brought a global understanding to the struggle for democracy, for the struggle for citizenship in South Africa. The exhibition is organized in a chronological sense with insertions of a few episodic moments that help clarify or open up new frames into the view of what South African photography was during this period, beginning from the 1948 and all the way to the very moment when the first elections were held in 1994. So it's an exhibition that really has a comprehensive overview, and it does its job by looking very closely at photography as a technique and a tool of documentation, also photography as a language through which new narrative formats can be evolved in the understanding of the relationship between media and image, between photographers and civil society, between activists and the opponents in the government. So the exhibition opens up new, frames of thinking, new possibilities of generating new knowledge about South Africa under apartheid, but the way also in which photography itself goes beyond the documentation of apartheid. Three critical areas that we like to focus on in the exhibition are the usage of documentary practices and photojournalism on the one hand, the development of social documentary in the 1980s, and the intervention into spaces of the media by artists through what I call constructed images. So all of this linked together brings a really dense but at the same time clarifying view of the role of the image in the mid-20th century South Africa.
The South African artist Kendell Geers is known for work that takes aim at both the art establishment and society in general, as well as for questioning our existing moral codes. Working in a wide variety of media, he uses and subverts familiar signs from art history and pop culture. Geers modifies existing objects, giving them new expressive possibilities that interact directly with the public in the form of installations or performances. The exhibition at Haus der Kunst is a monographic survey of Kendell Geers' artistic production, which contains personal, political, and poetic structures. The first part of the exhibition explores the political tensions of apartheid in South Africa between 1988 and 2000. During this period, Geers explored the divided society of his hometown of Johannesburg. Some of his works incorporate bricks, broken glass bottlenecks, and other found objects. These are charged with social and political meaning. The year 2000 marks a shift in Geers' production. During this period, the artist moved from Johannesburg to Europe and undertook a personal transformation. From that point on, his art began to become more poetic. This shift finds expression in works such as post-punk, peg and pop, a large-scale installation that exemplifies a mystical and spiritual search. The combination of razor mesh with mirrors constructed around a maze results in a beautiful and extraordinary installation that aims to be both playful and threatening.
Mel Bochner is said to be among the founders of conceptual art. Together with his artist friends, he declared painting obsolete. He did that, amongst others, by introducing language as a visual medium. But in his recent work, he's dealing again with a revision of this once spurned medium, whose death he declared in the 1960s as a crime passionnel. This process of reconciliation of language with painting and color, the rational with the emotional, reading with looking, arises explicitly in his Thesaurus paintings, which point back to some of his early drawings. Therein he takes interpretations or descriptions of a certain word from Roget's Thesaurus, which he step by step transfers into expressions from common speech and slang. And he often ends up with pretty rude sayings. So he gets from contempt to go fuck yourself, or from the master of the universe to gotcha by the balls. The exhibition depicts Bochner's development of the past 40 years and raises the question, what happens when an artist whose work changed the context of visual arts radically revisits subject matters he was from his beginnings on interested in this new framework.
Someone asked me, did I do this in order to be provocative? And my answer is, it's the responsibility of a work of art to be provocative. Not hostile, but provocative. To provoke a conversation and to bring back into consciousness things that have been buried. The Yiddish language on this piece is a reminder of a voice that's been erased from German culture. I want to bring back this voice, at least the ghost of this voice. The choice of the colors is to remind the viewer of the armbands that the Nazis forced the Jews to wear, the yellow star on the black background. My hope is that by bringing these issues back in such a public way on the House of Art, that a conversation can begin that will make people aware of what has been lost and repressed.